issue 1065 of Detective Comics and 1048 of Action Comics Superman. I'll now get things prepared for the first one that I'll be reviewing out of these two. And that is the Detective Comics 1065 by Ram V. So first things first, do these covers in any way, shape or form connect to something that's happening inside of the story? The first one does, but the second one not so much, but I do actually like it for the variant that it is. So for the first cover on the left-hand side, a 7 out of 10, and the one on the right-hand side, a 7 out of 10. I'll now get things ready so I can start to show the internal art. I will not be covering the backstories for either of these issues. So let's have a look at the beginning of some of the art around the beginning of the story. And as things start to take place in this story, we have some things happening around Gotham Harbor. And we've got Renee Montoya plus Lieutenant Rush, I think it was. And I believe this is meant to be Ubu, which is very interesting. Not quite who I expected to turn up in this story, because Ubu normally works with Ra's al Ghul. As the story continues, we get a bit of a fight between Batman, and he's also found by James Gordon. I'll now move a little bit towards the end of the story with some art work there. And as we start to move towards the end of the story, we notice that one of these people connected to the Organs might actually be a werewolf. So that is going to be interesting as they see how this story goes. One thing I do disagree with, though, or one thing I don't Batman needs is someone else sort of like laying claim to the property of Arkham Asylum and all that nonsense. I hope in the story that Batman works out that the deed is fake and we just have none of this BS in relation to who owns Gotham City, for example, or who owns certain areas of Gotham City, whether it's the Court of the Owls and other nonsense. I get what the writers are trying to do, but it would be nice to see, for example, what about some fake deeds being exposed? Made to look like these deeds are old when in fact they were fabricated over, say, for example, over the last 3 years just to make sure it looks legit as possible. And until then, bang. So for the internal art, I gave a 7 out of 10. Now it's time to move in relation to the story. First things first, did we get any comic references? No, we didn't. Next area is timed, which we had 4 hours later, and that consisted of the area of Gotham Harbor. And last but not least, the cast of characters, to which we had, I think it was Lieutenant Rush or something like that. The Organs, Arzen, who's related to the Organs. We also had Montoya, we had Batman, we had James Gordon, and of course Bullock and Two-Face made an appearance in this story. Overall story rating for this was a 7 out of 10. I'll now get things prepared for the next one that will be reviewed. And that is Action Comics 1048. So, Moving into first things first. Do these covers in any way, shape, or form connect to something that's happening inside of the story? Well, not so much, but overall, I think they're both wonderful covers, to which I gave this first cover, which is Superman, flying much like Christopher Reeve. Well, it reminds me of Christopher Reeve when he's flying. Not so much in his appearance, but great shot by the artist. And of course, the second one, to which I gave both of these covers a 7.5 out of 10. I do like this because I've got Superman, Krypto, other somewhat super members of the family, or members that make up the super family, including Supergirl and Jimmy Olsen, a couple of others. So now it's time to move into the internal art. I will not be covering the backup story, as I mentioned before. So I'll get things prepared for some of the art around the beginning of the story. And as things take place around the beginning of the story, I know I've missed quite a few pages there, but this is one of the scenes revolving around Lois Lane, and also children known as Orphle and Orpha Ra and Osul Ra from Warworld. And of course, Lois Lane is taking him to the zoo. We move a little bit further in the story. And I think I might have gone a little bit too far. And we have Superman coming in to help stop a situation. And moving, last but not least, towards the end of the story, to which we have Superman with Orion and a couple of others, and they're speaking about how one of the Warworld twins is related to, or is now technically an heir because of something that happened on Warworld. And now Superman has to make the choice of does he defend the kid or does he let him go? And we get a bit of a flashback here as to the crap to which Brian Michael Bendis absolutely destroyed. But I will say one thing. At least Philip Kennedy Johnson addresses the crap. And doesn't try to retcon. But at least he shows the consequences of the actions. And that is something that is missing with many like with some stories. They are missing the consequences of like some actions, even trauma that it caused. But what we really do need is our real John Samuel Kent back, not this fraud that we've got right now, written by Tom Taylor. He's written more like a New 52 character than what he is like a Rebirth character, just being completely honest. So for the internal art, I gave it a 7 out of 10, but I think that's got to do because of mainly Warworld. Atmosphere in its own way is sort of interacting with Earth's atmosphere. Moving into the next thing, that is the story racing. And do we get any comic references? Sure enough, we do, to issue 1046. Next area is time, to which we get none of. Moving into the next location, the next area being locations, being Metropolis, we had Strikers Island, and of course the Metropolis Zoo. A cast of characters consisting of Lex Luthor, Metallo, Orphle, and Osul Ra. Lois Lane, Superman Orion, and last but not least, Calabac. Well, until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.